Hey friends, how are you? Oh man, it has been quite a fall. It's been a great fall. It's been a great summer. It's been really, really busy. There has been so much happening, so much new things coming in, so many new things coming in, so many old things going away. Yeah, it's been a lot. And so I haven't been in here and I've been knitting, but I've had some like disastrous knitting. It hasn't been great knitting either. So I think it was just like a reflection of like, there was just too much happening and I couldn't give space to my creative side. I mean, my creative side was being used in other ways. Let's put it that way. Cause I don't feel like it ever really gets, you know, repressed. Once you've acknowledged it and once you give it air and give it life. And so this is Lisa from we're here. What is this podcast? Podcast called This is Life with Fife, Creative Vermont. Follow me on Instagram on Creative Vermont or Life with Fife. I have both of those accounts, and where we talk about knitting, where we talk about creativity and spirituality and the intersection of all of those things, and how when we lean into one, we give life to other aspects of those qualities. And that this all just makes for a happier life, a happier, more fulfilled life. So, and please, I would love it if you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, share with me what you're knitting, share with me what's going on in your life, in your neck of the woods. We're here in southern Vermont. We moved up here a couple of years ago, well, not quite a couple of years ago, about a year and a half ago, because we wanted a more simple way of being. We wanted to slow down a little bit. We both are from New York, born and bred. I've lived in different places, but we've spent the last 25 years or so in New York, and we really wanted to make a different life for ourselves. And we have slowly but surely been doing that. And we have a small house in town, so we can walk into town and have access to restaurants and bookstores and theater and all that wonderful stuff that towns bring. But we are a small enough town that our backyard is really the country, and so we have a large garden. We have my husband's building a chicken coop now, and so and we have space where when we pull into our driveway, it feels like we are in a spacious, open country environment. So we're very, very blessed and lucky to have the best of both worlds. And yeah, so what's been happening that has been keeping me so busy? So my husband Mark will be coming up to work with me at the school I work here up in the mountain. And so we decided to do this because, again, we are looking to simplify and make our lives more manageable, less stress. And for years and years, for many years, he's had his own business, and then he was working in retail as a manager, and he was doing that for a number of years. And it was it was a lot, And so when this position came up, we both really just made a conscious decision. We talked about it and we said, this is going to be, better for our family. It's going to be more time for our family. It's going to be more simplicity. So that's the big exciting news. Really, really happy about that. Our kids are doing great. Our daughter's at college. Our son is in high school, and so everybody's having a really good year. Lots of good things happening. The school year for me, I'm a teacher, and so I've been working on I'm teaching this amazing book that is such an interesting read. It's young adult fiction, but it is so rich and exciting and gripping, and it's like a combination of like fantasy, mystery, dramatic fiction, and it's called The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I can't think of currently who the name slips my memory, the writer, But it is, if you are on Audible, it is such a great listen on Audible because the narrator there's so many voices, and she does such an amazing job with the voices, and so it's really, really great. I really would recommend it. And just, I've been knitting and really sticking to my guns with that, trying to make time for it every day, because it's like if you don't make time for it, then it just gets away from you. And I believe that it's really important to keep doing it, even when you have a disaster, which I'm going to share with you in a little bit. But I made this sweater here, this cardigan. I love it. I knitted this with, with Plotilope. This is one of the colors I used, and this is another color. It's interesting. How many of you have worked with this yarn before? It is, the colors are so rich and beautiful and just really, really gorgeous colors. And, as everyone knows, this is kind of how it looks. I've talked about this in other podcasts. It's very easily torn, right? This is a yarn that breaks really easily, right? Just tears apart really easily. But you can, with a cup of water, you can just kind of like get it back together, add a little water to it, and it kind of just goes right back. So it's not a challenging yarn it's not a disaster if it breaks, but it is a little bit challenging because you have to, try not to tug too hard. So it's a little bit, but I love the colorways. I think that I love natural yarns. I love the colors of these natural yarns. They're just, you can see there's like flecks of brown and like almost like bronze. It's really just gorgeous. So rich and gorgeous. And it knits up extremely light, very, very warm. And I just really love it. So, and I used my leftover yarn stash which was from Wing and a Prayer Farm. I used the leftover pink and yellow in there. And then I had some other leftover yarn. So it's kind of interesting. You can, even though they're technically different gauges, because this is like, it's thicker than fingering weight, but when you knit it up, it kind of reads as fingering weight. So it sort of works together. Yeah, so I did this pattern. I used this sweater as kind of my inspiration, of course, from my good old friend Elizabeth Zimmerman. I used this sweater. I loved the way that this cardigan did not have buttonholes and was just kind of like a jacket. And yeah, so I used this pattern, these color work patterns from the Opinionated Knitter. And I'm really pleased with how it came out. And I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. I think it's going to be a really functional sweater. And I think, it's really just like we have to keep pushing ourselves and trying new things. And I like to do knitting that is not pattern based. I like knitting that really teaches me some new skills. And this was done in the round. I did a steek down the center. This is, I think, my second sweater that I've done a steek with, and I find it less and less intimidating. I've done smaller items with steeks, like cowls and things like that, and I really like a steek because it allows me to continue working in the round, and it's not so scary for me to cut my knitting. And I just found this to be a really like a pleasant experience. I used 3 needle bind off for the armholes. I used the steek, and I picked up stitches around, and I did a garter stitch border. And I decided not to do buttons because I was using that as my, that sweater I just showed you as my model. And it's super light. It's very, very warm. It's too cold for me to be outside today. But I just wanted to come in here really quick and share with you what has been going on, what I've been knitting, and just, encourage you you know, it's knitting season. So probably all the rest of y'all have been knitting like crazy. And I'm the only crazy one who has had trouble finding time to do this. But I just wanted to encourage you to stick with your knitting and just keep going with it. Try something. Don't be afraid to fail. Because here's my failure. I'm going to show you what I totally bombed on. And this is like, you know, I think important that we can talk about our failures as well. Okay, so I tried to make a vest, and this is the, I love the color work, right? I love the color work, but obviously I totally failed on the, I mean, and it's unfinished and everything. I failed on the armpit. I failed on this upper body. But I do love the color work. And I'm going to use this as a model to kind of, I don't even know what happened. I did it from the bottom up, and I didn't want to do a steek. I didn't want to do a V-neck. And I only had a pattern for a V-neck. Not a pattern, but Elizabeth Zimmerman talks about how to steek with the V-neck. And so I just decided to try to do it myself. And it was a total failure. And however, I learned that this is not something that I'm going to attempt again, and that I'm going to use one of either a pattern or a model or a recipe for doing a V-neck. What have your failures been? What have you learned from your failures? And, you know, how else do we learn if we don't fail sometimes, right? And even though I've been knitting for a long, long time, I still have some real bombs. And we can't be afraid to share those with others, because who cares, right? It's like, this is the creative process is just jumping in, doing the best we can, giving something a try. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, so be it. So I'm wearing my success story, and I have my failed story or my redo in the basket next to me. And wishing you an amazing fall. Hope to be back with you soon with some new objects, and sending you peace and love and joy. Namaste.